actually 6:30, so I think we're going to kick off this amazing event that we have planned for tonight. So good evening all attendees in Australia, and good morning Jan Marklund in Sweden, our speaker for the night. My name is Therese Nitenius, and I'm the chair of the Young Professionals Board, which is the subcommittee of the Swedish Australian Chamber of Commerce. And tonight I have the pleasure of welcoming you all to this launch of our professional series. And we have a mixed attendance tonight. It's both new and old young professionals, SACC members, which is fantastic. So it's great to see you all here. I'm going to share my screen just before I hand over to Jan to provide you with a little bit of an overview of the Chamber and young professionals. The Chamber and the Young Professionals provides a platform to network within the Swedish Australian community. And it helps you to stay informed, to make connections, to exchange ideas, and to find synergies between business partners and like-minded people. We have chapters in both Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and Brisbane, and we're quite large, so over 220 professional members. We're actually the largest and most established Swedish Australian business network in Australia and been around since 1911. We work very closely with the Embassy of Sweden, so the Swedish consulates and the Business Sweden under the Team Sweden Australia initiative. We collaborate with other Nordic and international chambers as well, the European Australia Business Council and the Swedish Chambers International and Australian Business Council of Sweden. The young professionals, we aim to be a catalyst for personal, social and professional growth for the Swedish Australian young professionals who are in the earlier stages of their careers. Traditionally, we have been offering quite a few social networking opportunities, but we're now extending that to collaborate really closely with SACC and offer professional events such as the event tonight. So throughout the day today, I have actually been thinking about that this event is coming up. I have been counting how many times a day in conversations we use the word problem, which is quite interesting now to hear from Jan Marklund, who will give us insight into what solutions-focused leadership means. It will be an interactive session. John is a leader development coach, author, public speaker and entrepreneur, and he will share all of his expertise with us tonight. I'd also, before I hand over to John, just would like to let you know that following on from the session, there's the opportunity to stay on, to connect with each other, network, and also John will hang around to answer any questions that you might have. So again, welcome everyone. Thank you so much, John, for offering your time, and yeah, I'll hand over to you.
Here we go. Unmute myself. There are quite a few. I don't see everyone. For some reason, you've chosen to not show your video. There will be some interaction where you will speak in groups 2 and 2. So I think it would be polite if you could, at least at those times, show who you are. But at the moment, we are not. So I'm here in Sweden, in Alingsås, outside Gothenburg. I'm very proud and to be part of this webinar. Like you, we've been closing down a little or a lot. We think it's a lot. People abroad think it's not that much. So making these webinars has been like a big wave throughout the world. And I'm so proud to roll this wave all the way to the other part of the globe. So I will start right away by sharing a screen. Before we start, and before I tell you what's going to happen here today, before we introduce each other a little of something that you're really good at doing. And this is before I tell you how we're going to do this thing. What are you good at doing? So pretty soon I will send you out into groups of 2 and 2, maybe 3 sometimes, and you just talk to the person. Tell them shortly, oh, hi, I'm this person and this, maybe just 5 and 10 seconds. And I will just let you talk for 2 minutes altogether and sharing something that you're good at doing. So let's go for this. Let's see what happens now. Okay, now we're back. And I will just now, I have to ask, do you see the share the screen now? Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, okay, you see my screen. I need to know that, okay.
We can't see the share. I can't see the shared screen.
No, me neither.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And also before we start, I would like you to try the chats now to, why do you think it's good to talk about these things that you're good at doing? I would like everybody to think of something and try the chat now and write the answer to everyone. Why is it good to talk about what you're good at doing? So please share with the rest. Why is it good to talk about these things? And I'll just give you 30 seconds, okay? Lovely, lovely. Great. We're also testing the chat because we're going to work with the chat a little here. Ah, okay. I love it. I love what comes up there. I usually do this in groups, live, makes you feel good, builds confidence, accountability. Nobody else will tell how good I am. I love that one. Yeah. Share the joy. Yeah. You can see. And we actually record this chat as well because it's very interesting for me to have this. So if you check yourself the chat there when you find the you see what they think, share the joy and maybe get more feedback and so on. Okay, and what I will add to this on this big thing now is that why is it good to think about all these things and talk about these things? Here comes my addition. Everything you focus on seems to grow. And it's quite important to know that as a leader or as anyone, if you focus on positive things, those things seem to grow in your mind or in your surrounding. If you, for some reason, focus on negative things, the weather, your pains in the body, or whatever it is, it seems to grow. And it's also very essential to know that research shows that one little thing of negative, it's much heavier than the positive thing. So people, you might have heard if you've gone leadership training, if there are 5 positive people in a group, it takes 5 positive people to weigh up for 1 negative. So in my trainings, what I do, I help people to focus on the positive things. And one saying here from Steve DeShazier, problem talks creates problems and solution talks creates solutions. One of the founders of the solution focus. I will come back to that. Okay, I would like you now to do a presentation before I get via chat. There are 2 things I would like you to do. One thing is, what's your role in the company or organization? Pretty soon you will write that. That's not too hard. And the other one, I would like you to estimate your familiarity with solution focus. And the question looks like this. On a scale from 0 to 10, where 10 stands for that you're very familiar, know a whole lot, and actually work on a daily basis with solution focus. And 0 for the opposite, you haven't never heard of it, it's the first time it came up to you. Where are you today? Print that number in the chat. So please, your role in the company, so I can see what you're kind of working with, and also how familiar are you with solution focus. I give you 30 seconds to do this, please, everyone. Yes, there are from 5 up to 0, some 10, 9 or 10, some that are very familiar with it, maybe taking trainings or courses. Great. Team leader has a 9, product manager, a 6, product manager for Kirsten Thomas, 6, a lot of 5 and 6. Okay, there we are. And I'm eager on this chatting. Now the next thing is that in order to move one step up on the scale, what are your best hopes for today? What are you curious about? Just something that's in your mind. What would you like me to talk about? I might not guarantee anything, but something. Please write that in the chat as well. This would be interesting to hear, so I can see where we are in the expectations for today. In the chat again, please. Now you can read for yourselves. I'm reading through conflict resolution, coaching teams and members, happy to apply solution focus to leadership, how to stay engaged with that focus, coaching in leadership role, improve communication in the team, conflict management, conflict resolution, team solution focus. Yes. Thank you. These are some of your expectations. Great, great. So I can't guarantee that nothing of this will happen here today, but I can guarantee that I will do my best to do this. But also, since it's an interactive webinar, I really hope that you will do the interaction, the things I ask you to do, and that will help a lot. So before we go now, I will introduce myself. Who am I? Here in Sweden, I was a former swim coach. I do kayaking, hiking. I was a teacher, headmaster, United Nations officer. And you can see it. I work as a United Nations, the Sinai Desert, out there with the Bedouins between the Israeli and Egypt. Quite interesting. Stayed in US for a while. Been to New Zealand 5 times and Australia twice, I think it is. So I really care for this part of the world. I own marketing of a professional magazine, trainer, facilitator, coach, career coach, consultant, author, writer of a book about solution focus. And that book looks like that, if you hear it there, and I'll wave with it here. It's in Swedish, and it's about one of my specialities when I help leaders when they enter a new organization. Either you're an experienced coach or an unexperienced. What is it worth thinking about when you start working there? And my focus today, or nowadays, is actually developing leaders and management teams. And as I said, I have an expertise training programs for leaders in new roles, new leaders or experienced. And I do this online as well if someone would be interested. I've done that. It's like a year program. It's quite interesting. And also planning a new book about solution focus and Swedish leadership. And in the mingle afterwards, maybe someone would like to stay and I could connect and later on maybe do some interview. What would you say is typically Swedish leadership? So today, solution focus, work and theory research, some practical examples, and also work with your reality. That's what we do when we work with solution focus. I don't, or my colleagues don't talk a lot. We have a lot of interaction. And why isn't it necessary to understand the problem in order to find a solution? That's little what we're going to explore. And today will be a little on the surface. This is on my kayak I was out on the other day. It's in the Swedish winter almost. It's foggy there. On the surface, okay. So me, these 1.5 hours, I will give you some tips, tools, and background about solution focus. And you listen, reflect, both in silence via chat, and you probably need a paper and a pen. And also in groups, you will reflect. How about some people asked me about questions and answers afterwards, after 1.5 hours in the AW after webinar mingle. You are welcome to stay there and maybe say something, or contact me at any time. You could get help with that. So just write to me personally in the chat. Okay. To improve performance, either coaching teams or whatever as a leader, they're very, very it's very common to ask those questions. What doesn't work? What is the problem? It's done all over so often. But is there anything you could change in just asking this? What does the person do wrong? What's the reason? Why is it so difficult? How long has there been a problem? Are there more problems? What does the person himself say about it? Co-workers and others? What's their view on the problem? These are very, very common. I often do it as well. But what other questions could be asked? Can we actually solve problems without even talk about them? Is that possible? As I said, one of my specialities is to giving leadership support to leaders starting a new job, a new role. But anyone could think of, is the organization you get into working with complicated things, issues, or complex? Both could be very, very difficult. But what is the difference between complicated and complex? Complicated issues, tasks, often what engineers work with, doctors, technicians. There are things that are predictable. You can put in a computer or maybe you can just count it. This is going to happen. Build a house, build an organization. But a drill for oil is also complicated, very difficult. Complex organization is organizations where you have people's values that are woven into. What do they think? Where you want engagement, where you want people to have their own views. You really want to make them part of the development. And most of us today, if you work in democratic countries, people usually want a complex way of working because you don't give orders. And what kind of leaders would they like to be, those ones entering a new one? Would they be the interesting one? I'm very interested. Like, I would say, Donald Trump, he's not especially interested in others. What is worth, in what way is it worth having your focus? Should you be telling things as a leader or asking things? These are very important when you work as a coaching or solution-focused leader. And as you can guess, the bold ones to the right is what we ask people to kind of focus on. Should they focus on what's not working or what's working? All these things is what we train people to get more into. What's worse or what's better? And motivational things. What is the highest motivational factors in working life? What do you think there? I mean, there's so many things that motivate you. Is it from your feedback from your boss or from colleagues, or what could there be? Is there the payment check that is getting risen higher? Well, there was a lady, Teresa Mabile, writing in Harvard Business Review, found that when she let people over more than 1,500 people write diaries on a daily basis, what happened there and so on. And what was it that gave them motivation? What was it happening there? And she found out that it was making progress in meaningful stuff. If you make progress, that in meaningful stuff, not that, oh, you're better than this Excel chart or these things. If it's not meaningful to you, it doesn't raise your motivation. So making progress in meaningful stuff. This is what she calls in the progress principle, the power of small wins to activate or achieve big, big things. And that is exactly what is being worked by in the solution focus. Some people say that, oh, we're always solution focused because you are that. But sometimes we think of changing the name of solution focused. I've been working with this for 30 years now. And sometimes we call it progress focus. Is that what we should call it? Well, now it's solution focused in many languages. It's spread all over the world in most continents. So it's nothing new. And speaking of progress and better, who wants to become a better leader or better in their role? Can you raise your hands who wants to become better? Can you raise your hands so I can see there? So I can see that. Who wants to become better? Okay, great. I can see that. And actually, if you want to become a better or better in your role, what does it take to become a better leader or better in your role? I would love some reflection in the chat. Could just some of you write down what you think I've written in the next slide? Nothing is wrong, actually, because that's what I'm going to tell you. Just write something. What does it take to become a better leader or better in your role? Love some reflection in the chat. What does it take? I can read there now. It's adaptable, time management, adaptable, clear goals, to connect, confidence, experience, reflection, listen to colleagues, enthusiasm, good listener, listening, to reflect. Lovely, lovely. Listen, hear, teamwork. I think that's, 360 feedback comes there. You're really into that. Good, good. And no, I haven't written this on my next slide. Regular catch up. Yeah. So what have I written there? Because most of you answer another question. You answer the question, what does it take to become a good leader? I was a little tricky question. All of your questions are right. Listening, engaging, that's a good leader. But mine is a little simpler. In order to become a better leader, you need to do something different. That will gain your business or organization or company. And different could be you do something more of something or less. You stop something or begin doing something. And this is, as we talk about Teresa Mabile, power of small wins, the progress principle is so important. And better is better than good. What does it say? Better is better than good. Well, actually, to make engagement in organization, it's not necessary to be good, actually. I'm not good. You could perform on a quite poor level if you as a manager think of your employees. But if you make them better on whatever level you are. These are for top students in the Stanford University. These are for dropouts. If they're getting better, that is better to hear than telling them that you are good. And that's quite interesting as a leader to be aware of this, to encourage. We say we identify progress and amplify that. And speaking of better then, better for a 6-year-old, here it's very clear. The 6-year-old boy, let's say, that is at home, mother coming home maybe, showing how long he can ride the bike. Look, mom, here, I can ride the bike from this light pool to that. It's 10 meters. Oh, great, you're good. The next day when she gets home, he doesn't show her the same track. He shows, oh, look, mom, I can now ride my bike before I fell down to 12 meters. And next time that and that. They're so interested telling the surroundings in getting better. The teenager is the same thing. If you don't get better at school, you get better at other things. Could be interest, playing music and everything. It's getting better all the time. Me as a swimmer, I didn't have to win, but I needed to make sure I got better. So I was trekking with the clock all the time. The 86-year-old, can they get better? Well, they've done research on 86-year-old people. What do? Well, they make a difference to their grandchildren when they are getting better. So he all the time, focusing on improvements. The leader should think of that, its own improvement and others. So now we talk about solution focus and problem focus, and quite a few have been maybe on trainings and so on. And it's quite interesting to think, what is a problem and what is a solution? And I do this sometimes, and people let them to talk, and it's quite interesting when they try to define that, what is a problem? Well, we in the solution focus do a shorter definition of what the difference between a solution and a problem is, that a problem is something that we don't want. And a solution is actually something we want more of. That's a very, very short definition of the difference between a problem and a solution. Let's say a person is rude. That's not what we want. So what is the solution? Well, then we have to define and use the words to tell what's the opposite, or what if he's not rude, who could it be instead? He's interested, he's listening, he's confirming. This is very, very clear as a solution-focused leader, to not focusing on what you don't want to the left, but you rather focus on the right part here. Some short background of the solution focus. As I said, this is on the surface. This could be said for a long time, but maybe a minute or two about Steve DeShazer and Inso Kim Berg. They're pioneers, people say, in the solution focus. Started in the United States, in Milwaukee. They run a therapy center, long-term therapy. But they were interested, could I make it in a different way? So they stood behind those mirror walls like you do in police stories, and looking at therapists having their therapies, people, the clients, they're seeing what's happening. When do people get engaged? When do people actually take steps forward, not just digging deeper and deeper in their problems? So they found a new way of actually making the therapy session shorter, making it quicker, focusing on the solution instead of the problem. My father-in-law, he was a craftsman. He had tools of different kinds, saws, hammers, and whatever. And he said, "What's your best tool in your occupation, Jan, as a consultant?" And I said, "That's a good question. Yeah, but what is the tool?" And I said, "Actually, that is the good question. The question is a tool for a consultant as me, but also as a solution-focused leader. That is the tool you have to make engagement." So the best leader in early days were those who had the best answer and knew how to do things. Nowadays, or in the future, the best one is the one asking the best questions. As I said earlier, in the nations where dictators are, they never ask questions. They're just telling people all the time. They won't get that much engagement as you do in democracies or in democratic companies working in that way. So you ask with your whole hand. In the Swedish military, you have a saying, you point with your whole hand. No, don't point like a teacher with a finger. Point with the whole hand. And I've kind of made up the saying here, you ask with your whole hand. So a lot of questions is asked by a solution-focused and a coaching leader. And here is a conversation with two different approaches. One is the conversation with a problem-focused approach, and one is the solution-focused. And if we start up to the left here, problem-focused, what is the problem? We kind of, yeah, that is a problem. Let's go on. Here with the solution focus. In a problem-focused way, you describe and analyze the problem. And you ask the questions as I asked in the beginning and really dig into that. On the solution focus, you put more time and effort into what is it like when the problem is gone. I sometimes clock meetings when they have 60 minutes and people talk about how dreadful things are for 50 minutes. And after a while, oh, it's just 10 minutes left of the meeting. What do we want? Where do we want to go? That's the really first time they get solution focused. That's what they want instead of don't want. Analyzing mistakes. Of course you have to do it, especially if you work as an engineer, doctor, things like that. But it's not that necessary if you work with people who you're wanting to become engaged. Analyzing success is much more powerful. How come that meeting was good this time? I sometimes work with managers that say, oh, I had a good management meeting. Everyone said everyone was good. Do you know why it was good? No, I was just happy first time they've been arguing about so bad meetings. Go back and ask them, why was it good? We spend so much time on analyzing mistake. Do it, analyze success instead. Describe me short with this. Here it says, acknowledging strengths and resources. Solution focus is a strength-based methodology. There's some cousins around the world, positive psychology, genetic, appreciative inquiry. They're a little different, but lots of things the same, since the approach is strength-based. And also here you can see different differences. One that I hear down here, learning from early mistakes. Oh yeah, we have to learn from the mistakes. Yeah, but how much do you learn from earlier success? So I, in quotation mark, force my managers I work with to learn from earlier success. Speaking of positive psychology and so on, those who work agile sometimes find themselves also in familiarity with the solution focus. And the bottom line is very, very interesting for a solution focused leader. In a problem focus, we would say that the boss, the leader, is an expert. This is the way you should do it. This is how it's done. Whereas to the right here, the solution focused leader has so much trust or shows so much trust into his or her employees that I would like your suggestions, either where we want to go or how we should do it. And it's very hard sometimes. If you know the answer, should you keep quiet then? Yes, sometimes you should do that in order to make the engagement. So hold yourself back and let your employees come with the suggestions how you should go on there. To the first question up there, you see, suppose that it says. That's one of the most common questions a solution-focused coach or leader asks. They say, oh, this is bad, this is what. Suppose it wasn't that bad. How would it be instead? How would it be instead? They say. I work sometimes with either directly with the unions or leaders who have trouble with the unions, or the unions complain about how the companies run and so on. People from unions are trained to find the problems. If you ask them sometimes, how would you like it to be instead? They kind of, we haven't thought about that question. So it's quite interesting what you're trained in doing. Okay, we go on to the next slide here. See how we are. 3 ground rules in solution focus. Simple but not easy sometimes to follow. If something works, do more of it. So I start out always, what's working? Don't forget that. And I sometimes send out a spy, Agent 00+. A lot of people have heard of Agent 007 with a license to kill. But the Agent 00+, he is sent out secretly, hidden, with a plus at the end. He has a license to gossip about positive things, because that's not so common that they do. Like someone said in the beginning here now, that if no one else, I will tell how good I am. Nobody else will. But here, the double O plus agent, he is reinforcing the positive things that happens into organization. If it doesn't work, stop doing it and do something different. Well, I've said this thousands of times, at least 100. Okay, what will happen when you do the 101st? I mean, you've heard this before. Solution focus is probably not new. It's in there. A lot of people do it automatically, of course. So I should have said it in the beginning, it's not magic solution focus. It's just one way of doing it. But if it doesn't work, stop doing it and do something different. And someone, it takes a leader to encourage a person to do that, or I encourage a leader to do that. And also, if it ain't broken, don't try to fix it. A lot of times you get in there as a leader, you try to kind of organize again, reorganize, do something, even if it's broken, because especially, I tell you, male leaders seem to be the ones that try to fix things that aren't broken. Female leaders seem to be a little more listening. Is it broken? Is it not? What is it? Suppose you have an employee talk, yearly employee talk, and there are, in Sweden you have at least as you, I guess, a yearly. If you could just ask one question, what could that be? And I have this one. Looking back a year from now, what are you better at? What are you better at? Now I'll divide you into breakout rooms, 2 and 2. You just get 2 minutes. First, 5-10 seconds. Who am I? It's randomly picked. Okay, who is in the? And I try to do this now, Camilla. So you put on your speaker and you put on the phone. What are you better at? Interview each other for 2 minutes. And when that comes up, there's 60 minutes left. Keep on talking. What are you better at? So I'll stop sharing here now. And now let's see now. There might be 3 participants in the room, 7 rooms for that now. So 2 minutes from now, what are you getting better at? Please share. Back, what are you better at? Looking back a year from now. And when I ask those questions, I just don't ask that one question, but there are quite some nice follow-up questions that I will give you some tips you could use. So how do you notice that you're better? On yourselves? How do you notice that? I sometimes ask people to, if you put up a webcam or something in the rooms where you are, or where you meet people, how do you notice you're better? We look for observable changes, observable. It's very important as solution focuser. We're not so much, oh, I think this is a lot better. I love this. That's also important, of course. But as a solution focused leader, you look for signs of progress. And a sign, oh, I feel a lot better when I work with her. How does she notice that? I ask that. Oh, I do that. And how do you notice on others that you are better? How do you notice on your employees, maybe? Or how do you notice that on your colleagues, the management group? And in Solution Focus, we try to help the people to take different perspectives. Sometimes your own, look out through your own eyes. Sometimes you do it through the others. If you work as a private consultant, sometimes you say, how would your husband notice that? And I'm not kidding. When I work with management, especially one-to-one, I mean, the private life sometimes there. A lot in Sweden, you might know, they tend to work a lot, maybe too much. So how would your fiancé, your husband, your wife notice that you're getting better at this? She probably see me more maybe focused when we talk at home. And this is important as a leader. As a leader, you're the whole you. You're not just leader at work. So how do you notice that? It's quite important. But not only that, we also dig into that. What are the benefits of being better at this for your organization, for your customers, for yourself, or as I said, for your wife? We enforce and make people think about the benefits. There's a lot of reorganizations not having defined or asked for the benefits, or sometimes it goes too quick. If there is not a benefit for yourself, you might not put so much effort into it, even if it's just benefits for your customers. Sometimes you, oh, that is better for me, at least in 1 year time, I get a better paycheck. So the benefits are very important. And what and who has helped you to become better? So even if we have just one question at the beginning, what are you better at? We also asked these follow-up questions. And what are these questions about? Well, the first one up here is to identify the progress, identifying progress by looking, listening. The bottom part here, it's identify benefits. And the last part, let's see now, here we go. I thought, wow, where are we? Here, identify resources. Sometimes you have to look around you. Who has helped you to do this? Who has been a resource for you? And just by getting that questions, oh yeah, it's my colleague. How has she been supportive to you? Well, every time I give her a call, she is just listening to me, or every time I'm giving her a call, she has such good advice how I should go on further. So these steps are very important when you work as a student. So what are you better at? That's just looking back, okay. But usually in employee talks, you look ahead of time. You look 1 year, okay, so how can you just use this one question? Then I'd go like this, look at this now. Suppose we meet again in the future, a year from now. What would you like to answer to the same question? What are you better at? So suppose we meet again next year. What do you hope to answer the same question? And I've tried it with some managers, they tried it to not only have these, okay, because sometimes the company has to have, or have a lot of questions you have to ask, but just asking these questions is recognized. And also in the future, how would you notice on yourself that you're better? There comes their own expectations. Shouldn't we as a leader tell them, you should be better than this, on this and this? Well, I have an IT company, they tried in Umeå, you know Sweden, they were solution focused. They had a lot of IT engineers. The leader tried to keep their mouth shut. How would you know that you're better? He had to guess. How do you think I as a leader would appreciate you getting better? How would I notice? How would our clients? Sometimes with bad performance, I say so, then you have to go in, not being the leader, more of a boss. You can tell them off. This is not appreciated. So you shouldn't be too soft in those ways. But as a coaching, a lot of people wanted to ask if you can coach. You can coach 90-95% of the time. Sometimes you have to be the chief, the boss. Then the coaching might not be so easy. How would you notice on yourself? And also the same questions. What would be the benefits of being better at this for organizations, for customers? Looking ahead of time. So the same kind of follow-up questions here. These are quite neat. Who and what would be of help of you to become better? Yeah. Should I do this on my own? Well, maybe I should take a course on that. Well, my boss is sometimes good, but no, I have a colleague, or my wife sometimes. Sometimes people have studied together. They find themselves there. So by asking those questions I said in the beginning, that you don't define either the goal, the target, or the way to work further. So you keep your mouth shut when you do these, ask your questions. There were some wishes about conflict resolution. I'll give you just one. Oh, let's see now. I have first, identify progress in future, identify benefits in future, and also the resources in future. Those who are interested, this could be sent to you if you give me your email address in the chat. You could send it privately to me, or you have a recording on this. The SACC will, as they've done with other webinars, they put it out there. But you're very welcome to. I could give this in a PowerPoint, send it to you if you're interested. But they're lovely to try out, or you have written down. I don't know. So as I said, this is Swedish. I came into an office where a manager I was working with, and it says "Vad hindrar er från att samarbeta?" And those of you who know Swedish know it's about something like this. Why can't you cooperate? What's impeding you? And this manager was so proud. He said that, yeah, I finally, I got these two employees to sit down and had them to talk about why can't they cooperate? Because I felt I was too weak to not addressing the problem. So I've done that. Yeah, I'm proud of that. Okay. And before I go on, I would like also now to see now what can conflict resolution. It's not conflict resolution yet. In pairs, we'll do an experiment. Last time you were 3 and 3. Now we'll try if you get 2 and 2. And now I'd like you to act as actor. Pretend you're two colleagues that can't work together, and you really can't cooperate, and you don't get along at all. And you get your 2-3 minutes to talk to each other. Why can't you cooperate? What is there? So do some improvising on the question on the board. Why can't you cooperate? And keep on spitting out things to each other, even if it's just for play, okay? So now I'll stop sharing the screen and dividing you into groups here. I can do that here. I do stop sharing there. So now you think of, is that for real? Think of someone that haven't been able to work together with. Pretend that's she or him on the other screen there. That you can, so giving out your hard fight for 2-3 minutes, why can't you cooperate? Okay, just what this manager was trying to make his colleagues work better together. I said, you and I worked together for a while, and you know I work solution focused. Yeah. If we tried a different question, would you be willing to do that? The same kind of problem, but willing to do that in a different way? Yeah, let's try it. Okay. So now I give you the same problem, but I wrote this in Swedish below there. Vad behöver hända för att ni ska samarbeta? And in English would be something like, what needs to happen for you to cooperate? What needs to happen for you to cooperate better? Would like you to. I will send you out just for a short moment again. But differences you notice is in the first time when you're answering the first questions, what needs to happen? And just reflecting, you get in probably new groups and short presentation who you are, and what was the difference? Let's see now, there you go, okay. Welcome back. As the way is, I cannot hear what you talk about or anything. If I hear what you talk about, I actually enter a room, you might know that, and you can see me there. So there is no secret spying from my part here. We're coming towards the end now, and not too much left. When I was working with an industrial company, I'll just show you a little what questions didn't perform the way they wanted. Was in the western part of Sweden. They performed poorly. They think the problem was that. And when I asked the manager, I tell them, I will not ask what doesn't work. Oh, you won't? No. What is the problem more precisely, more exactly? I won't not ask. Oh, how do you do that? But he had a little trust in my way of working. So I started with the other way, working with them. So I started with this question instead. When your management meetings occasionally have been good, or at least okay, What has it been like then? Looking back the 3 last months, and they start writing down things that works once in a while. At that time, when we got in time to the meetings, and we had a real good agenda, and you remember two meetings ago in July, we actually listened to each other. Okay, so we start with looking for exceptions from the problem. After that, we go on. Suppose you put a real effort into improving, and also suppose things turn into exactly the way you want. What would be different? How would you notice? See, you notice that I write, you notice that. How would you notice that you cooperate better? If I turn on a webcam or something there. So that's what they did. And what they answered, and that's actually according the target picture of Future Perfect. Here's a lot of answers, what they got, but we won't take part of that. Now, I'm going to challenge you at the very end. Coaching with the scale. And I would like you to have a piece of paper and a pen. It's easier if you have that piece of paper and a pen in front of you. We're going to work with a problem of yours, an exact problem of yours. So I would like you to think of something that you have a problem that you're facing at the moment. You're not going to talk to anyone else. I'm going to do coaching with you here right through the screen. So think of that. What are you facing now? A challenge or a problem? You need to kind of, that could be doing that, working with that person, getting home earlier. It could be any personal thing in your leadership. So that is a problem. Okay. Here you have a scale. If you have a time, you can draw a line now from left to right, 0 to 10. These scales are very common in the solution-focused way. Those of you who are experienced who put down a 7 or 8 might have recognized or have done this before working with the scale. So, on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 stands for the problem is gone, that's the 10. And 0 is where the problem is at its worst. Where would you say you are today? So write a number there from 0 to 10. The 10, the problem is gone. Wow. And 0, it's the worst. Put just down a number somewhere. Okay. Just give you 2 more seconds. Okay. Now, you write it down. Right, you've done that. Before we go on looking, what are you most satisfied with? Having chosen that number, write down 2, 3 things that is between 0 and 3 or 0 and 6. Write down 3 things at the least that I'm actually satisfied with that making you chosen that. Write it down if it's possible for you there. What are you most satisfied with? Have you chosen that number? Why not 0, I usually say. And what else, it says. It's so common if you use such a solution-focused leader or trainer or coach to ask the question, what else? Because there might come up the most important thing. What else are you satisfied with? I just give you 7 more seconds. What else are you satisfied in dealing regarding this problem? Great. What is it making you so pleased? I give you 14, 15 seconds. What is it making you so pleased? What is it that making you so pleased? What is it actually? Okay. There comes another what else. What else is making you pleased? Another 7 seconds. Thank you so far. This has been looking back, right? Suppose now we look a little forward ahead, but just move. We're in the beginning of middle, almost of August. Suppose that you in a month's time, in the middle of September, would say, now I've taken a small step up the scale. And then, how would you notice that? What is different then? Just a small step. Please write that down. How would you notice a small step closer to the solution? And actually the last question on this part here. What have you done to make it happen? I can't write it. What have you done to make this happen? Just one small thing. What have you done to make this happen? That was a 6 minutes long session with solution-focused coaching, just to give you a hint of it. We usually work with real cases when we train people and educate. I would like you in the chat, before I leave over the word to Camilla, to write down what was personally most valuable for you today. It would be interesting to some short reflection. It's not necessary, but I would appreciate if you could write down either personally to me or to others. It's about to you. What was personally most valuable for you today? I think there are differences in valuability. Please. I don't read yet what you write there because then I get distracted, but I see that quite a few are writing something. I really appreciate that because it's so good to get some kind of feedback right away. Thank you very, very much for this feedback here. And if you would like, I write them out after the webinar. For Mingle, you can do that. If you can't stay, you can write to me personally in the chat or with a question or email address for further contact. So thank you very much. Now I stop sharing and hand over to Camilla. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan, and thank you to all our participants joining this evening. And I also would love to thank the Young Professional Committee for organizing this, this online event. And there will be more with different topics as well, as the Young Professionals are planning a series of events. And I'd like to share a little bit of our upcoming events we have within the Chamber. And it is coming up now, you can all see it here. So we have, we're working together with all the Swedish chambers in Asia Pacific. And on the 20th of August, Eastern time, 10:30 a.m., there is a webinar about Make LinkedIn Work for You. And that's how to leverage the world's largest business-to-business social media platform. And that's organized is hosted by the Swedish Chamber in Singapore. On the 22nd of August, the Young Professionals are organizing a active event. It will be a smaller one, and it's to go and play paddle. I never played paddle, but it looks a lot of fun. I know it's very popular in Sweden. So if you haven't signed up for that, look on our website and register for that one. It's on the 22nd of August. Then we have on the 27th of August, this is a new type of online event, which we are starting up, and it's about experience sharing. And here we're looking at engaging the small and to medium-sized companies and also individuals, of course. And the focus for these type of sessions is to discuss major challenges and related to a certain topic. And we will use breakout rooms like we're doing today, and get the chance to really share your experiences here. The first topic is going to be the future is digital, and we are for this event we invited Jan Ekman, who is a Swedish expert in digital transformation. And he was the founder of Conversionista, which you might know. It's the #1 optimization agency in Scandinavia. John lives here in Australia now, in Manly, and he works for New Republic with their education programs. and that's also an optimization agency. The 28th of sorry, it's not supposed to be October, it's supposed to be August. At 6 p.m., we have another webinar organized by the Swedish Chamber of Commerce in China, and the focus on that one is logistic, competitiveness, and sustainability transportation. And that's a panel discussion with Scan Global Logistics and the Port of Gothenburg, Green Carrier, and ICA Shanghai. So you can find all this information on our website. So have a look. I also like to highlight that we are now welcoming entries for the Swedish Business in Australia Awards. This is something which we do every year to highlight companies, enterprises, young business executives, or entrepreneurs in Australia with a strong relationship to Sweden. So please have a look at that. It's also listed on our website. An invitation will come out as well shortly. And we hope to see many companies and individuals and young professionals entering for this. Please always follow our social media links, LinkedIn, Facebook, and our website. And we also will have the recording and summary of this event on our website, and that's under recent events and webinars. So for anybody who are missing events, go and have a look there. There will be a summary and more information about what was brought up. Thank you so much, everybody. And thanks again, Jan, for a great online meeting. Thank you.